We are 1 week away from the IPL, and it almost seems like we are getting into the injury season because there are a lot of players getting injured leading up to the IPL. And to know which players these are is exactly why you're here. Welcome back to Wake Up Cricket, powered by Pavilion Picks. It's 8 a.m. Now, before we talk about everything that's happening around cricket, hit that subscribe button, like, share, and everything. Let's get into it.
Now, the first story, though, isn't about injuries because we
That's
wanted
true.
to start on a relatively positive note. Riyan Parag says Samson irreplaceable like Kohli or Rohit. A starry eyed 17-year-old when he joined Rajasthan Royals in 2019, Riyan Parag now finds himself as the franchise captain for IPL 2026. It is a position previously held by some big names Shane Warne, Rahul Dravid, Shane Watson, Steve Smith, and most recently Sanju Samson. With Samson having left them, for Chennai Super Kings, RR are now without their most capped player. Parag has called Samson irreplaceable but felt RR were nonetheless well placed for a strong season if they could avoid the missed opportunities in key moments that defined their 2025 season when a string of narrow defeats led them to a ninth position finish. We can only try to look for players with the same skills like Samson and someone who can fill the hole left by him in the batting order. Parag said in Jaipur, just like you cannot replace Virat Kohli or Rohit Sharma in any 11, Samson is irreplaceable. But will plan something new? That's what we have been discussing in the build up. If you see last season, we lost 5 or 6 close games. In fact, a couple of games were last ball defeats. This season, if those few games go in our favor, then we won't be asked about those issues any longer. In any 40 over game, there'll be a few moments where you have to make right decisions, and that's what I'll focus on, like who will bat where or what to do at the toss. And if we do that well, then this year will be a good one. Parag is particularly keen to see how Ravindra Jadeja, who began his IPL journey with RR in 2008-9 and returns as part of the Samson trade with Chennai Super Kings, fits alongside Ravi Bishnoi in the side's spin plans at their two home grounds in Jaipur and Guwahati.
There's so many things to break down from this news, right? First of all, it's good to see that a former team is acknowledging someone's presence and someone's absence, and that's Sanju Samson and his contribution to the side. Because we know when KL Rahul left the LSG, it almost felt like Lucknow Super Giants did everything to make sure that KL Rahul wasn't part of that franchisee from there on. And we've seen this time and again with a lot of different franchisee when a team leaves. Even when Shreyas Iyer left Kolkata Knight Riders right after winning the IPL, there's almost this try of making sure that people forget that Shreyas Iyer was part of the Kolkata Knight Riders, where Shreyas Iyer was the captain when Kolkata Knight Riders won the IPL 2 years ago. So we have seen this happen. So it's good to see Rajasthan Royals acknowledging the contribution, and there's no bad blood in between any of them. Even Sanju Samson in recent interviews did talk about how he left RR because his time was done and not because there is any bad blood. Now that being said, sometimes when these players give interviews, especially Riyan Parag with this interview, I feel like he thinks in his head he's saying something so valuable where he says in a 40 over game there might be a lot of things happen, but if we get the toss right and if we decide who bats where and all of that right, well, that's what a captain does, right? Like that's the basic idea of what a captain needs to do, and you would hope that he does it. But I feel like in their head they're saying something so precious. But it's good to see Riyan Parag give these interviews because he's now the new captain. So good on him. Hopefully, for Rajasthan Royals' sake and for sake of RR fans, he does well as captain.
There'll be more of those coming. Now, the three names that were mentioned in the report, Sanju Samson, Ravindra Jadeja, Riyan Parag, they all started really young and they started at Rajasthan Royals.
True.
Sanju, though, barring 2 seasons in between where RR were banned, played for RR throughout since 2013. Moving on, Sam Curran set to miss IPL 2026 with suspected injury. So, we are diving right into it. Rajasthan Royals have hit a hurdle before the start of their IPL 2026 campaign as England all-rounder Sam Curran is set to miss a season at his new franchise with a suspected groin issue. Curran last played on March 5th in the 2026 T20 World Cup, where England lost to eventual champions India in the semi-final. Curran, 27, was set to play for RR for the first time after the franchise bought him via a trade with Chennai Super Kings last November. Curran and Indian all-rounder Ravindra Jadeja were traded by CSK to RR in exchange for Indian wicketkeeper batter Sanju Samson, who recently emerged as a player of the tournament at the T20 World Cup. There's no confirmation yet on who RR are likely to bring in as Karan's replacement, but the franchise is learned to have explored a few options. Apart from Jadeja, RR also have another all-rounder in Donovan Ferreira, a power hitter who can bowl quickish off spin. Just like Jadeja and Karan, Ferreira too was bought by RR via a trade at his base price of rupees 1 crore from Delhi Capitals.
When I see Sam Curran, it's when my cricketing brain starts tickling because in the last couple of years in the IPL, he hasn't done really well with the bat or the ball. Because with the ball in the last 3 seasons, he's gone at excessive of more than 10, given more than 10 runs per over consistently last 3 years. In fact, last year was his worst. He gave 11 runs per over, even in this World Cup, where it wasn't the most high scoring. Of course, England didn't play India, and India did score 250 plus. But Sam Curran went at about 9.4 runs per over, and even with the bat, he had a strike rate of only in the 120s with an average in the 20s. So, objectively, when you look at Sam Curran's form off late in the IPL or off late in the World Cup, it's not the most impressive. And every year in the auction, it surprises me with the amount of interest he gathers. And but that's also because Sam Curran, as a bowler, can bowl in almost every phase of a T20 innings. Can bowl in the power play, can bowl in the middle phase uh, uh, of a T20 innings, and at the death. And even with the bat, he can be a floater. He could possibly be a pinch hitter where he can be sent up top and just be told to swing his bat,
Yeah.
or can come in the latter half of the T20 innings where he might need to finish off the innings. And he's done that for the Chennai Super Kings, won a match or two for the Chennai Super Kings because of his innings. And I think that's why he gathers so much attention in the auction. But when you objectively look at his numbers, they're not all that great. And I know a lot of cricketing fans and I know a lot of cricketing analysts think he's overrated. All that being said, he is an all rounder. And all rounders in the last couple of years, because of the impact player role in the IPL, don't gather a lot of interest. But again, we have Sam Curran getting all of this money. And I feel like it will be a miss. All that being said, I know I've criticized him a lot. All that being said, I feel like RR will miss him because of his T20 experience. He plays all around the world. He plays for England, and he's played in the IPL for a lot of years. And it will be interesting to see who RR replace Sam Curran with. But I'm gonna say it's not gonna be the biggest of misses.
And some of that strike rate can also probably be attributed to the fact that England played a lot of their games in Sri Lanka
Yeah,
too.
that's true.
Moving on, Ferguson, to miss early part of IPL 2026, committed to keep playing for New Zealand. New Zealand fast bowler Lockie Ferguson is set to miss the early stages of IPL 2026 for Punjab Kings. Ferguson, a new dad, will prioritize spending time with his family before potentially linking up with PBKS for the latter half of the tournament and Black Caps for the winter tours. Just had a wee son, trying to spend as much time as I can at home and help the wife out, Ferguson said in Auckland before third T20I against South Africa. I'll have a few weeks off after this before sort of heading to the later stages of the IPL and away for the winter. Always a pleasure playing for the Black Caps. Really enjoyed my time in India with the group again. And unfortunately, the injuries played out early in the season. Really wanted to play some home cricket and feel just privileged to be able to play in front of the home crowd. Ferguson took a short paternity leave during the 2026 T20 World Cup in India and Sri Lanka, but could spend only around 4 days with his family before rejoining the New Zealand side for the Super 8 stage. 9 days after the T20 World Cup final against India in Ahmedabad, Ferguson rocked up in Hamilton and took 3 for 16 in New Zealand series levelling win against South Africa. After third T20I at Eden Park, his home ground, Ferguson will head into a longer break. Cricket in general is on the up, which is amazing, Ferguson said. Sometimes the hard part is selecting when to take rest, so picking this time, which I think is pretty fair, considering the wife was looking after the baby when I was in the World Cup. So no, really looking forward to some of the time at home and then back into some cricket after that.
Let's talk about two things. We'll talk about player perspective and team perspective. Loki Ferguson, him being able to do this is great. Him being able to take a break, stay with his family, and then play for his country. And I think him being able to prioritize what he wants to do, I think that's good to see. And players being vocal about it, even if he wasn't playing for his country and just taking a break to stay with his family, I think that would have been absolutely fine. And missing the first half or whatever games of the IPL, I think players being able to prioritize what they want to do is the most important. And sometimes franchise tournaments and franchise teams can put a lot of pressure on the player, and so for him being able to do that, I think that's fantastic. Now that's a player perspective. If you were to look at Punjab Kings, again, this might be too harsh objectively, but I don't think they're really missing out on Loki Ferguson, because I think he was able to take this break and miss out on a couple of matches because either they had a communication or he himself knew that I don't think he was going to feature in the playing 11 to start off with, anyways, because you had bowlers like Arshdeep Singh, Marco Jansen, Vijay Kumar Vaishak, and Yash Thakur. The Punjab Kings have a lot of bowling options, especially fast bowlers. And I don't think Loki Ferguson, looking at how he's played in the IPL in the last couple of seasons, would have been a starter to begin with. Again, he like Sam Curran and like a lot of foreign fast bowlers, he's been on the expensive side in the last couple of seasons in the IPL, going at around 9 and 10 runs per over. So when you have bowlers like Arshdeep Singh, who's one of the best T20 bowlers in the world, and Yash Thakur, who's had a stellar domestic season, I don't think Loki Ferguson would have started off anyways. But it's good to see the Punjab Kings being happy with it and Loki Ferguson being able to take that break.
Now, back to back ECB stories, and first one is kind of different in nature. ECB play down Duke's supply chain fears ahead of the county season. The ECB insists that the English domestic season will get underway with the requisite number of Duke balls available to the 18 counties, despite a reported supply chain issue triggered by the ongoing conflict between the USA, Israel, and Iran. According to a report in the Daily Mail, the county championship season, which gets underway on April 3rd, will begin with roughly half the usual number of balls available to the counties. That figure, the report added, is usually between 4,000 and 5,000 per year for the professional game. Dilip Jajodia, the owner of British Cricket Balls Limited, which manufacture Dukes, told the Mail that freight rates from the subcontinent, where each ball is individually hand stitched, had risen from $5 to $15 per kilogram in light of the conflict, and that English cricket was consequently facing a major crisis. We've got plenty of stuff in the factories in the subcontinent ready to go, but the airlines are not taking the flight because there's a logjam, Jajodia explained. In response, the ECB explained that the board buys its supply of balls in bulk for cost reasons, and that it does on behalf of the counties, and that the clubs had received the balls they require at this stage of the year as requested.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know how big of a crisis it is, because the number of balls per used per counties is very new to me as well, and I didn't know there was a crisis to begin with. But it is very interesting to think about county cricket balls, as in Duke cricket balls used in counties, because until last year there was a whole try of using Kookaburra balls for half the season and then using Dukes, because Robke especially wanted the players to get used to the Kookaburra balls so that they didn't lose as badly as they do in Australia, which didn't make sense at all. And they soon realized it doesn't make sense at all, because the Kookaburra balls don't behave as they do in England as they would in Australia, which I thought would have been foreseen, but evidently not. And I feel like sometimes as adults, we make decisions that are not logically based and more fear based. And I feel like the whole fear came about of how would we lose in Australia. But yeah, I think also why I think the amount of Dukes balls this season would be a lot higher than in the last couple of seasons, because this Kookaburra ball, the whole idea of trying it out has been thrown away, and so this entire season is just Duke's ball. First of all, which is great to see, because that's what they should do. They should prepare batters to play in their countries to begin with, and we haven't seen batters averaging very high in England, first of all. And to see Duke's ball come back and to have a Duke's ball being played with the entire season, that's how it should be. But yeah, the talking about the supply bit, we'll only find out through the season, and how, if that's going to be a detrimental factor, and if there's going to be lack of Duke's ball. Because if that happens, ironically, they'll have to go back to Kookaburra balls. So that'll be funny for me. But yeah, we'll only find out through the season if this is going to be an actual issue or not.
Now, on to the next story, which, like mentioned earlier, is again around ECB. ECB advertised for new men's selector as hierarchy prepares to face the music. England have advertised for a new men's national selector as Richard Gold and Rob Key prepare to face the media for the first time since their 4-1 Ashes series defeat. Luke Wright stepped down from his role as a selector after the Ashes, citing a desire to spend more time with his family, and left the ECB after the recent T20 World Cup. A successor is expected to be in place ahead of England's next assignment, a three-test series at home to New Zealand in June, after the ECB advertised for the vacancy on Wednesday. The job advert is for the position of England men national selector, a minor change from Wright's role as England men's selector, which hints at additional responsibility and accountability. Applications will remain open till April 17th. ECB said that the successful candidate will be accountable for the selection of players and will play a key role in ensuring quality communication between England cricket team and first-class counties. Gareth Batty, Surrey's head coach said this week that the path from county cricket to England selection had been misted over in recent years after a series of left field selections, while his captain Rory Burns joked that a couple of shots on Instagram was sufficient for players to catch the attention of England's management. The professionalism of the England setup was called further into question on Monday when Liam Livingston gave an explosive interview to ESPN Cricket Info criticizing the attitude of coaches within the team environment and accusing Key of a lack of respect in his communication last year.
Yeah, it's not surprising that when your team is losing in the last couple of years, it hasn't done well in the T20 World Cup, and when your team is dropping players, but also have picked up players and continue to keep picking up the same players even when they don't perform. When all of this happens, when there's an amalgamation of all of this, there will be players that are upset. There will be coaches and team management of counties that would be upset with the way the selection happens in the England team. What is surprising is there has been a lot of changes or a couple of changes with the team selectors or national selectors as they call it, and not the head coach, which is what is shocking to me because we've talked about baseball. I think we have talked about baseball in this news of how baseball in the first couple of seasons did really well. Won in New Zealand, won a test series in New Zealand, won a test series in Pakistan, historic test series in Pakistan, but hasn't really won a lot since then. Since then, they've also lost in Pakistan. They lost in India. They've drawn the series against India, drawn against Australia and England, lost against Australia and Australia. So they haven't really won much, even in the T20 World Cup. I think they're one of the worst ODI records of late. And in the T20 World Cup, they somehow made it to the semi final. All that being said, they did make it to the semi final. So good on them. But still hasn't won anything. Yet you see national selectors being changed and criticized, even Rob Key for that matter. It's good on the national selectors that they are ready to give interviews and they come on the Sky Sports podcast. But you see them doing all of this and then get them getting switched, but you don't see the coach of the national team, who's been hyped for his entire tenure so far. Nothing being done about him, which is what is very interesting to me about the England cricket team.
Is it because since the time Brendan McCullum took over, which is just a year and a few months back, from before that as well, England were kind of beleaguered, beat their 2023 ODI World Cup
True,
campaign
true.
or
Mhm.
Champions Trophy had just taken over. So probably that's something that shields him.
Yeah.
Moving on to the meme, and it is once again PSL versus IPL or IPL versus PSL.
Yeah, well, we don't want to make any franchise wars. We do fan wars, but the franchise, this is a thing that happens, right? Every time there's a player getting injured in the IPL, you know that the franchise teams are looking for players abroad, and usually they are playing the PSL because they haven't been bought in the IPL. And once they are bought, the players just don't care about the PSL contract and come to the IPL because of the amount of money they're getting. Now, you can't fault them. In the end, players franchise tournaments, as much as they do care about cricket and all of that, franchise tournaments and franchise matches do come because of money. Players are attracted because of the amount of money in the game, and if you're getting a better contract in terms of money, you would be attracted to that and you would want to go to that. Fortunately for the IPL, they just have a lot of money and they can offer a lot of money to that player, who can then just leave the contract, if, for example, who plays if that player plays in the PSL and then come to the IPL. It's funny because it's happened in the last couple of seasons. And as much as a lot of Pakistani pundits talk about how PSL is more competitive, there are better batters, there are better bowlers, it's the best league in the world and all of that. Well, you got to be honest that IPL is right up there. Interestingly, I think I saw a news today morning, and I don't know what the rating system was, and I don't know if Megha you came across this. But again, I don't know what the rating system was, but IPL was rated third best franchise tournament in the world. The first, I don't remember the order, but in the first two was SAT20 and the 100. And IPL was docked off points because of a couple of reasons which I forgot. Oh, trying to solve disputes. So there was a few points docked off. And there was another reason, and which is why IPL was the third best franchisee. So it wasn't a cricket centric rating system. There were a lot of things around it, like solving disputes and other factors that I've forgotten. But yeah, the IPL was rated third, which surprised me, to be honest, that it was rated third. I thought it'll be first of all first or second, but yeah, third.
I thought you were talking about across sports, and then you'd mention about English Premier League or
Yeah, yeah. No, no, just franchise tournaments.
no,
Yeah.
but it's kind of given, right? Any league in any sport, when it has a lot of money, it will attract the best talent. And also with the
True, true,
IPL was the pioneer. It started because of the ICL, but IPL was technically the pioneer,
true.
after which you saw franchise tournaments around the world. But obviously, the reputation, the profile, you want to be associated with something of that scale. And that's
Yep.
also the reason why players shun their PSL contracts. And anyway, IPL gets the best. It's only after that that the PSL auctions are held, where they're
Yeah.
also aware that they get the next best and all
Yep.
of Pakistani talent. And yeah, so anyway, any which way, if there's a player injured or unavailable in the IPL, then IPL teams will attract the next best, which is
True.
PSL talent. Or otherwise, there'd be players, a bit of domestic cricket happening,
Yeah.
or there'd be players who don't want to play or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, so it makes sense, right, for them to go to PSL.
Oh, yeah, of
Last time, I
course.
think it was Bosch who was banned for a year.
Yes. Yep.
And
Yeah.
then Blessing Muzarabani this time around is
That's there.
joining KKR. We don't know yet
Yep.
if he'd be banned as well. Datta Atreya, which team will win the IPL 2026? Too early to say that.
Yeah, too early to say that, and there's a lot of channels talking about predictions, a lot of channels breaking down IPL teams. So if you haven't subscribed to Cricket by JB, do that. But yeah, it's too soon to say. According to me, Mumbai Indians will win. Well, it's not a surprise if they go on to win. They're one of the, if not the most successful franchisee in the IPL, and they have a very good team. As we might possibly find out. It's still a week to go before the IPL starts. Still a week to go before we can make all the predictions in the world until the first game. Which is also why you're here, because you will know everything about the world of cricket if you join us at 8 a.m. every single day from Monday to Friday at 8 a.m. at Wake Up Cricket, powered by Pavilion Picks. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, share, and subscribe, all that good stuff. We will see you guys on a Monday morning now. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.